right, March 2nd. I can't even believe that it's already March, but I just thought I'd just let you know that I cleaned up a little for you, all right? For each of you out there in virtual land, I just really wanted to work hard on my virtual background today and clean it up a little bit. All right, the next interview that we have, it's kind of cool. I got interview season going on. This gentleman I've known for a long time. He's been a mainstay here in the Seattle and Washington state area. He's also known as DJ Tgro, and he actually had the honor of DJing my, geez, what was it, 40th birthday? I think it was 40th birthday party. Anyways, let's bring in the one and only Adam Tiegs.
How you doing, John?
Oh my God! You know what? The funny part was I was here like about what, a week or two ago, where Adam let me stay at his place because I had an event in Tacoma, right?
Yeah, and thank you again for breakfast. I thought that was really kind of you to do that for me and my son.
Oh, that's right. And wait, where did we eat breakfast at? We ate at.
We ate at the Poodle Dog in Fife. Been there, I believe, since 1933. Just good old fashioned home cooking, you know.
It is a mainstay in that Tacoma area for sure. And when I posted pictures of it, there are so many people that are like, "Oh my gosh, I was there." Fill in the blank, right?
Oh, totally. Did that conference go well for you too?
Oh yes. So that was the Black-owned Business Excellence Hybrid, where I was in charge of the virtual, and we presented out of University of Washington Tacoma's. They have a, what is it, like a not a stadium, but a big huge meeting room there, and we were able to broadcast, and we got 8 hours, right, 8 hours of live stream. For anybody who's live stream knows that's kind of a long time, and the live stream actually went out very flawlessly. When the Zoom actually held over 200 people, so I think there are key aspects to that, and everybody came back and said they were so engaged during that whole program. We worked really hard to get all the right different camera angles and the other things, right? So, and Adam, you know a little bit about that, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say you're pretty good at that too. So.
Well, why don't we introduce myself to a few friends who may not know who Adam Tiegs is, as well as your latest and newest direction. So, who are you and what are you doing, especially in your latest incarnation, Adam?
Well, I've been a professional DJ for over 20 years now. I have always been into tech, not just music, but always into the fancy toys. And you could say the pandemic, right going into it, I was kind of getting into streaming and doing things online, doing performances online. But we got thrust into that, and we really had to learn all these tools of the trade. I really got into everything from video editing to doing effects like lower thirds and animations and doing things like that. So I've always kind of done this for about the last 7 or 8 years, but never really kind of done it. But I launched Adam's AV service 2 weeks ago, and did our first event this week officially. I say, at least with our camera setup, we have a PTZ camera setup, and did some iMag and just some recording for ILEA's Emerald City Applause Awards at the Embassy Suites King Street in Seattle. And so got some practice there, got some good footage, and we've got a big event coming up at the Tacoma Convention and Trade Center in 2 weeks for Thurston County EDC. It's one of those really awesome government contracting expos where we're just trying to connect people and get those contracts for them. But other than that, we've got a few other things lined up this year. Even just background music for events. I have a cider festival that I'll be providing just background music at. They didn't need a DJ. They didn't want people dancing or have some crazy lights going. So that's part of the reason I am doing this. I feel like a lot of small organizations and businesses want to do big tech at the shows that they put on, whether it's trade shows or tastings or things like that. They don't have the big budgets for these AV companies to come in and do projectors and screens or any video for that matter. So it's nice to be able to have a solution that fits a budget that most people don't. They get one camera, or do you want three? I'll bring three for the price of one.
And that's really a key. Let me go backwards, Adam. Before you started DJing, what were you doing before, and then how did you get into like this AV space?
Yeah, well, I always tell people I've been collecting music since the 80s. So those things called cassette tapes and records, I still have. I don't really buy any cassette tapes. I still buy records. Love the analog. Uh, 90s, I got into DJing parties. I was in college and went to Wazoo, go Cougs. So every weekend, somewhere there's a party, and I figured out how to be the DJ at a lot of parties in my time there. I was in 98, 99. I graduated. 2003 was the year Adam's DJ service was born. This is our 20-year anniversary this year. We're gonna have a little party coming up in June. We're gonna celebrate that with a lot of our vendor partners, customers, and other people that have helped me be successful in my 20 years. And I think I invited you to that, right, John? If
I
not, we'll
don't remember
talk
the
after
invite
this
yet.
meeting, right?
All I know is all I know is I'll be there because at least I know it's going to be a good party, right, Adam?
Cool. I would say so. So Adam's DJ service was born. We went through trials and tribulations. Had employees that worked for us. We tried the multi-op model. Imagine having 7 weddings on any given Saturday and having 2 of your employees get in car accidents and having to deal with that while you're at your own event. I decided, like Justin Timberlake left NSYNC, to go solo. One of the best decisions I could have made at that point in time. And let's just say a few years into that venture, I was doing things on my own, but also supplying labor to other companies that were doing bigger events, things at the Gorge or at the stadium in Seattle. And so I got to learn how to be a freelancer, and I really stuck my nose into places that I wanted to learn. So I was always hovering over to the video guy or the audio guy to learn bigger boards, how digital boards worked, and finally took it upon myself to just invest in some of this equipment and learn it and use it and know how to use it and do a good job for not only as a freelancer for those companies, but on my own.
Now, I've made a similar decision too. So I want to talk entrepreneur to entrepreneur for just a minute here, which is like the obvious solution for a business like ours, where basically a service, business, is that you get more people and then you book more stuff and then you have more things running at the same time. So you have more scale. So you're making more money every single day. And I've come to the same conclusion often too. I'm just curious, was it the car accident that was the tipping moment, or was there something else that was this, solopreneur is a valid piece, right? And it really, for some people, is more than valid because, it depends. Quite often too, I think, Adam, I've seen you run, which is like you're usually about 4 or 6 steps before ahead of everyone else, right? And some of your DJs either can't keep up with that or aren't interested. They're like want to do the same thing every day. And so I'm just kind of curious if like what tipped over that decision. Because again, all of us who've been in business, more than probably a decade have tried something like this, and eventually you figure out which one is you.
Yeah, I think again that I gave you kind of the tipping point, but what led to that and what came out of that was I always want to provide a service that's above and beyond, right? I always tell people you can hire that company that's a multi-op, but it's kind of like going to McDonald's. It's kind of the same no matter which McDonald's you go to, right? I'm kind of like the steakhouse where the chef might come to your table and ask how you like your food and just give you a little bit more service. At McDonald's, I've never had an employee come up, how's that Big Mac doing? So it's just those little things that I realized, man, I can't give my clients the attention they deserve if I've got other DJs out getting in car accidents on the day they should be working or whatever, So,
Yep.
Doing that for my clients, yes, we've raised our rates. Some clients can't afford where I'm at now as a DJ, but there are all sorts of levels of people out there that can provide a service if they truly do value somebody that's invested a lot of time and money into their equipment.
Yeah.
Have a unique music selection. Do a lot of my own remixes and edits. So every time I go out to an event, for the most part, it's going to be different than every other time I've gone out.
You know what I think is important there too is like in the end, right? It's we're a little bit on the artist side, and what I mean by that is that that's what you get. And when people don't have a budget, I've seen your list too, which is really kind. I had to use it occasionally, which is you'll send them to other DJs that you know. Right, like Janie Kelly just recently is one of your singing DJs who tried out for The Voice, and her and I got a chance to work an event together. But that's great. You kindly give out to the other piece there, and what most people discover is either they didn't want a high level of service and so they're happy with this lower cost thing, or of course they go on the other side going, I'm going to go find the budget, right? Because then they finally understand what the Adam Tiegs difference is at an event. And I've seen it, by the way. So the Adam Tiegs difference at an event, this is to me what the value of a DJ. You'll love this story too, Adam. I actually had a group recently, and they took like over an hour for like 8 people to decide: do we have a DJ or do we have a live band at the event? And then they decide on a DJ, and then like 6 weeks later, they unmade the decision and said we have to have live music at this event. And then what the challenge was that this DJ actually knew the group like from the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And so every time the live band played, the dance floor cleared out.
Okay.
And then every time the DJ came in, they all came back. And this guy, they would have saved 8+ grand if they just would have stayed with the DJ. And so what I'm saying is like, Adam, as a DJ, and you got to get a feel for the crowd, some of which you do beforehand, some at the event, and you got to keep that groove rolling until something magical happens. That's kind of what I think about.
Yeah, I like your take on that. Just because I guess you could say you just sparked a thought. When I was first coming up as a professional DJ, I'm always still learning, but there's that feeling of, oh my gosh, I played a song, the dance floor just emptied. Do you freak out about it, or do you just keep going? You know what I mean? I used to freak out about it. These days I don't, because I know I'm going to get that crowd back. They're just going to take a break. Sometimes you got to take breaks. You can't just dance for 2 hours straight, as I learned last week at a concert I went to, and had sore legs and hips for 2 days. So I definitely kind of take all those learning experiences and try to create that just the best experience for not only my client or the couple or the birthday boy like yourself or whatever, but feed off of their guests as well.
Yeah.
As the event goes, and just whether it's verbal communication or eye contact, or hey, that guy's wearing an AC/DC t-shirt, I better play some AC/DC. Just little things that you notice that kind of bring it all to fruition. And that's my goal. I want everybody to at least have a moment where they're like, oh, that DJ played my song, or something along those lines. So
yeah, I love this song, I'm going to get up, right? And so I'd love, Adam, before we move on to other topics, think about in your history of DJing, like what's the most either epic or crazy or unusual or unexpected story? Kind of like when you get DJing right. Like as an MC, I kind of akin MCing to DJing, except you don't always playing music, right? You're just, some of it's talking, some of it's whatever you got to do. But as a DJ, I do know that like stuff happens, and quite often the best part is when something totally unexpected happens, right? You got a good story to share?
oh my gosh, you're putting me on the spot here, because I'm thinking of so many things, and I'm also thinking, do I keep this PG-13? I got some rated R stories for you, but man, this is a good question, John. I've had a lot of epic moments, whether it be DJing or just while I'm DJing. I'll give you an example. And watching your video coming into this today, you've met a lot of famous people. You probably blow me away as far as famous people you've met. And I just one of these weddings I did several years ago, Sean Penn was a guest at the wedding. I guess he was dating one of the bridesmaids or something. And so I'm a big fan of his. I've never been turned off by him in any way. I appreciate his talent, some of the characters he's gotten into, right? And I went out to the bathroom. He was out smoking, and I just said, hey, I'm a big fan. Can I get a picture? And he took a picture with me. He was a nice guy. But by the end of the night, the catering staff was like, wasn't that cool? Sean Penn was here. And they're like, F that guy. He was a jerk, and they told me about him demanding a bottle of vodka be brought to the table, right? And I think the room was so enamored that, hey, we're at a wedding and there's Sean Penn. It was a distraction for almost everybody that was there. But I didn't see the negative of it, but the staff definitely did, because we have certain rules in our state, about serving liquor. And I mean, I would have taken the $400 and given him a bottle,
He certainly can pay it.
Yeah. I mean, that they literally turned down, the staff did. He just whipped out some $100, and I'm like, man, let them have their fun. So it made me feel embarrassed almost for some of the rules in our state during that point. But I mean, I thought that was pretty epic,
Uh,
having somebody like that in our presence, even. Um, you also made me think about the time somebody got a little too tipsy and wanted to take me somewhere, and right in the middle of my gig, and I'm not going to get into that one. We'll talk about that one later.
it's probably an alien too. That's
Yeah.
the best part, Adam.
One of my favorite photographers in the area, her name's Jenny GG. She can tell you that whole story, because she was my witness that night.
She was sort of wing woman, like professional wing woman there.
Oh, thank goodness, yeah. Because at first she thought this woman was my wife. I'm like, no, I don't know who she is. Can you just get her off of my leg, please?
Isn't that one of the reasons why you get into DJing, though? Right? People love the DJ.
Hey, I'm happily married 20 years, and it is fun when people like you, not just what you're doing or the music you're playing, but it is kind of humbling when people, give you that kind of attention, I suppose.
All right. Well, I know you took a hiatus, sort of, kind of from DJing, and you probably attended a boatload of virtual meetings. I'm kind of curious for your side, especially as you coming from the DJ and the AV, standpoint. What has to happen for you in a virtual meeting for it to be like interesting and or engaging?
Just to me, usually a topic that hits home, timing wise. Sometimes I'm in, like, there's a lot of things I want to learn right now about video production and effects behind the scenes. So I've been taking in a lot of Blender and OpenShot and DaVinci Resolve videos. So if I were to do online topics, having just got back from Las Vegas and seeing people speak live, some of those topics got me pretty good. I'll give you an example. Like, one of the things I learned from Chris D'Amico is his name. He's a New Jersey DJ, and he's older than I am, older gentleman. But in 2015, he lost his 10-year-old son in a boating accident, and I have a 10-year-old son now, so that he drew me right in and had me hooked and punched in the gut all at the same time. So anybody that can, truly reach out to the audience and engage them like that and make them feel like, man, this could have been me. That keeps me engaged with them. And to go on, just to give the wrap up of his story, I ended up hugging him at the end because I felt the good in his son, and the message he was trying to get out there. Kindness for Christopher is the hashtag, and this thing's gone viral around the world. If you do a little search on that, you'll see some cool things. This kid was 8, and all he wanted for his birthday was food for cats and dogs at the shelter. And so when this kid lost his life at 10, they started a foundation, and they give away pajamas to local places, and his spirit still just goes on. And I'm like, man, this kid was amazing, and the whole point of it was, how do you go DJ a wedding the next day after your son dies? And how do you do a good job for your client when you have tragedy on your mind? And so I think he prepared me for that. There's Christopher right there. I will never forget him. I will never forget the message. Matter of fact, February 17th is Random Act of Kindness Day, and that's because of this kid right here. It became a national holiday because this kid just wanted to give to the rest of the world, and tragically he was taken away from his family. And boy, man, he had half that room crying talking about this, because I couldn't imagine losing my 10-year-old at all at this point, So I just truly love to be engaged to, I guess, not only topics that I'd like to learn about, but have there be a personal touch and or a professional reason or something to be there, not just, hey, let's network, let's have fun, you know.
What was the topic too? What was he teaching?
Essentially, how to set aside your tragedies to kick ass for your clients,
Oh,
how to
yeah.
turn off that switch, to give it your all, because you don't want to bring your mess, your thoughts, your negative thoughts to an event that's supposed to be positive. And so just being prepared if you ever have to deal with losing a loved one and then going to work. Don't drag the event down. Don't bring it with you, and you got to still. Matter of fact, the topic was the show must go on.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that to be true. And in his case, what's great about the story is he turned a tragedy into something positive. And he Elizabeth Gilbert to me has had one of these top keynotes. And I'll just share like there's 8 key things that we did because we tore apart her keynote afterwards. Because she was able to give a virtual keynote that 650 people felt like she was talking to one on one. And we were like, how do you do that? And so in this story, what it reminds me is the 3 key things that she did: vulnerability, right? Your speaker was willing to share this story about his son,
Yeah,
right? Authenticity. This he really did this. There's stuff on the news. He's doing this every day, right? And then the storytelling, like he found a way to communicate this in a story that grabbed you, especially when you got a kid. I mean, kids is like the easy target for engagement. Saying, I could put myself in his shoes, and now would I be as good as him to be able to make that decision? And the answer for most of us is we don't know until it happens.
yeah. And I imagine had he done the same presentation virtually, not just in person, uh, probably still would have had the same effect.
Yeah. And that's the key. That's actually what people don't think that you can, but I think it's some of the important stuff on virtual is is people get into that transactional, right? 45 minutes of blah blah blah, 15 minutes of Q&A, and like if we've already heard and seen this and like he was just trying to tell you how to get over something and here are 6 steps, that doesn't grab you like really finding a way to put you into his story.
Yeah, just still thinking back, that one got me. Something you just said came up in another keynote or another speech that I really enjoyed. It was a DJ that made 3 very huge mistakes at one wedding, got it all on video, and he shared that with the audience. Here's me screwing up. Don't do what I did, you know. So I was like, man, I really respect somebody that's willing to put their balls on the chopping block, so to speak, and just, here's my mistake. Learn from my mistakes so you don't have to.
Can you share one of the 3?
I'll share all 3 with you.
Oh, of course you were
I
paying
won't tell you who he is though, but no.
That's fine.
Introducing 2 brides as bride and groom.
Oh.
Mistake number 1. Mistake
Oh.
number 2, we're gonna do something special for the deceased grandpa who's sitting right here alive. And then choreograph first dance. Something technical happened and the song just stopped on, I don't know what he uses for gear or laptop or whatever, but 2 brides are gone. Where's the rest of the song? Like, so he just talked about how he had to overcome and make it right for the client, and the fact that I do this now to avoid that, and I practice names and I ask questions. And again, it kind of revitalizes what I've already been doing for about 20 years.
Yeah.
Because I do ask my question. One of the things I ask my clients at the final planning meeting is about the 7 Ds regarding their parents or their sibling relationships. These Ds are death, divorce, deafness, drama, dirt, Down syndrome, and dementia. If any apply, I want to know about them so I don't embarrass you or myself at your wedding. So,
that's a talk right there, Adam. You should give that back to your.
Matter of fact, somebody told me that in Vegas. You should develop a keynote, do a speech about that. I'm like, okay. So maybe I'll be a guest speaker at the next Mobile Beat Expo or MEX, as they call it.
Like I said, it goes for MC too. Like if I'm MC, you'll have to figure out. There's probably a couple for corporations.
Yeah.
Like it's not a D unless it was like I don't know what the D word is for fired.
Hmm. Distanced,
Just
divorced,
do not
kind of, but
hear.
from your job, not your wife. But yeah,
Yeah, my new one is do not hear.
to not hear. Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, anyways, we're talking about gear. Since you got to talk about gear in your last speaker, why don't we go through? You've recently acquired some new gear, so why don't you show some stuff that you're rocking? So let me just give some context why we're here too. This
Yeah.
is Adam's like basically his home station where he tests all his equipment out, and so he's got this really cool studio where he can have a bunch of stuff on here. And today he's using this piece of equipment. Go ahead and say a little bit more.
So this is just I say just, it's an advanced panel that controls the video switcher that I use. So all the cameras coming in, all the laptops or other sources that provide content. This gives me such awesome control. I'm going to come back here and just throw like a DVE key on and bring that in. So I've got two cameras. One's over there. Hello. And of course, with this little guy, I can make this thing bigger, move it all the way around with the joystick. You can kind of get things ready that you normally would take a long time to do with a mouse and keyboard. So a lot of little tools, little toys, as they say. We'll just go out of here. Woo! See ya.
When pandemic, right, the ATEM Mini made a lot of press with a lot of people, and basically what I'm doing here, I'll come on my side here. I do software version of switching, so I can do things like this or this, and I'm doing it in software. But the ATEM Mini
OBS.
really made its place because it's doing it all in hardware,
Yep.
and therefore it's faster and better in some ways.
And I like that I can embed audio on the video lines and record multiple things to what I call hyperdecks. You can record to an SSD or an SD card, which are my two go-tos. But adding those cameras that I use for events that allow me to have one operator and presets for three cameras instead of hiring three operators standing at each of the cameras, like a traditional broadcast or whatnot. I'm surprised more like athletics. I know we have like the cam that's over the football field that's,
Oh yeah,
that's being controlled by the lines,
right.
but some of those other cams you still see people at them. You don't see just a robot. So I'm thankful that people see the value and the humanity behind what we do.
Well, all those follow cams, as much as AI is being blabbed about right now, as many follow cams that I've tested lose me as a speaker,
Yeah.
right? So I'm walking around, right? And all of a sudden I use like a DJI Osmo and then the camera flops around too. The worst part is that its failing behavior does something that you don't ever want in a shot. And so, but I run three cameras now too, and I run a one person shoot. Like I can actually operate all the equipment because I've got remote controls too. There's smaller version of joysticks on the cameras. And by having a unique strategy around it, you can make something that looks like, right, a studio broadcast with like off the shelf equipment. Yeah, of course, the other piece here is the Stream Deck. And for those who don't know, the Stream Deck is I just pushed a button, right? So I can push a button here. And so the Stream Deck automates a lot of these things. And the Stream Deck combined with your big fancy piece of hardware means that you can also use the Stream Deck to immediately shift to some other thing you set up, right?
Yeah. So for example, I use the big one I just showed you for ME1
Yeah.
for the main program locally to the projectors or screens in the room, the video wall or TVs, for example. And then I'll use my Stream Deck for ME2. So anything that we're recording or streaming can have a total separate broadcast, but the unit I have, the 2ME production studio, allows me to just bring all the inputs into one place so that I can route it out to wherever I want, however I want. It's kind of like an audio mixer, but with
Yeah.
video. It's like,
Yeah.
so it's in and out and what you can do with it. And nowadays with digital routing, you can route anything you bring in to anywhere you want out. So I really enjoy the tech that it is, because this stuff didn't exist 10 years ago to a consumer. You had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and work for a broadcast channel or a cable company. to even get to play with these kinds of toys, as I like to say.
Yeah, I think that's what I've told people too. To get this level of quality in a broadcast used to cost 100 grand minimum, and now, right, because of COVID and everything else that accelerated through, and then the driving down of costs, operators like us, we can run events for a couple grand, depending upon what you want to do. And now it becomes accessible, and now you can also do things like double your audience, right, or increase your audience by a significant percent by letting somebody at virtual just click a button and come, as opposed to having to drive and park and all that other stuff that they might have to do.
Yeah, and I've been such a small cog in a big working machine.
Yeah.
Of events. There's this program that a couple of clients use called Swap Card,
Yes,
and
of
it
course.
allows me, for example, if I'm just DJing the after party to their online convention.
Yes.
They put me in a green room, and then they're controlling everything remotely.
Yep.
Like the gal I was working with, she's sitting at her place in LA.
Yep.
And we're just live broadcasting to the world, and it's pretty awesome that you can engage people like that. We still haven't figured out. I guess legitimately, you and I have talked about this, and I think there'd be a better solution, but to really do like a media server for karaoke so that it can be in real time.
Oh yeah.
And no latency, instead of everybody hit play now, or however you were doing it. The local one supplies the chain with no latency, but I was like, this would be a good solution.
There is some other there are virtual meeting rooms that focus completely on latency, and I saw another version of it. So we're trying to see if our karaoke group can adopt it yet. I haven't got over the test part, but basically all it is latency is the key. And they said basically if you're in the same half of America and you have a decent high-speed internet line, it can do the math to figure out where you should be and then have everyone show up at the same time, which is hard, by the way.
Yeah, milliseconds galore, right?
Yeah.
The other thing I brought up with a product manager last week in Vegas, because this guy has a lot more connections to manufacturers than I do.
Yeah.
And working for an audio company called DOS Audio. These things right here, headphones and cords.
Oh yeah. Yes.
As a DJ, I still have to plug a cord in because anything wireless with headphones, it's not coming in at real time. There's a little bit of a delay. And so my one request was, can we get a UHF wireless transmitter and headphones that receive that signal, so I can not have a cord and be tethered to my DJ mixer at gigs? And he says, we are working on Bluetooth. It's an HD version of Bluetooth that will have zero latency. So that could be the end of this year. It could be next year, but they're working on it. And so I'm really optimistic about that right now.
The Bluetooth Consortium is actually based in Bellevue, Washington, so we should meet those people. I've actually done team building for them.
Yeah, well, let's connect. I would love to go engage them virtually or in person.
Well, what about this part? When Adam goes on a shoot now, like if you're going to set up a virtual event or a hybrid, right? That's the hot new thing. What goes through your mindset as you go through and plan about what gear am I going to pull and how do I set this thing up?
For the most part, adding a streaming or we're already set up for recording on site, but streaming, I would add a different machine to just capture that second ME for that broadcast. The other thing is using an audio interface. If you're going to have two-way audio is really key, so that you can use what's called a mix minus.
Yes.
Where the person is getting everything back except themselves, because otherwise you get that feedback loop.
Yep.
And so it's nice to be able to throw different, audio mix minus out, and but yet have the local audience hear them and see them, and vice versa. Set up cameras for the local audience to be seen by the person online or people online. So just creating that two-way street where the people that are online get a sense for, wow, if I were there, I'd probably sit right there or whatever. That way they're not just seeing the stage or the speaker, giving them a little bit more perspective visually is always fun. But also just knowing that, what are we doing? Are we bringing somebody in? Are we shooting it out? Those are two really important things. The other thing for me is hardwired internet connection is a must. I do not mess with wireless when it comes to streaming, in or out. You got to have, minimum downstream, minimum upstream. Some venues provide it with the room fee, it's great. Some venues charge an arm and a leg for internet, and it's kind of silly to me. That and power befuddle me. That's
Yeah,
a whole nother topic for another day.
yeah, but it's because I mean the hard line is so important compared to the Wi-Fi. Because even when Wi-Fi is at its best, we've seen it drop frames or parts of the video, even though you're as close to it as possible. And so having that extra additional hard line is usually the guarantee. Almost every program I've run with that has run fine, unless their whole infrastructure goes down. And we've seen a hotel where both the hard line and the Wi-Fi both went down at the same time. That's always a good one. That's fun. And so
Who's
that's
the
why
ISP?
I'm carrying a T-Mobile 5G hotspot now, and I ran it the whole time as a backup, even though I didn't have to use it. Just it's like $50 a month, and it's a really decent piece of insurance policy because it runs at about 200 to 300 megabits per second.
Yeah. Even on the upload speed?
It's probably 200.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah, it's equal on both sides. So 5G has kind of fixed the pseudo, like Xfinity I think is one that has the multiple, you're getting like 300 down or 300 down, but you're only getting like 10 up.
Yep.
And so, they one day they'll get to parity when you get to that. So speaking of parity, then Adam,
let's
let's
talk
talk
25
about
up.
what's that?
At least 25 up.
Yeah,
That's
at least 25 if we're live streaming.
Yeah.
Speaking of live streaming and parity, so what does Adam Tiegs see in the future? You've been in business long enough.
Yeah.
You see some of the equipment and you're already kind of at the forefront of some things. You're using stuff that most people don't use. And what do you think is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years in this virtual space?
It's only getting bigger. I think the market share is going to go nuts. I haven't gotten involved yet, but you see all this virtual reality, the metaverse and things like that are being created, and it reminds me of when the internet was still fresh. So I see almost this 2D internet thing that we're used to we're going to become more immersed in it, and it will be in a 3D world. I think movies have changed. You see like Top Gun Maverick and Avatar, and what they've done with IMAX and with the 3D is just amazing. They actually would have made that stuff 10 years ago had the technology been there, but they had to wait until it kind of came around. So the vision is definitely staying ahead of the curve, but I see a whole new generation of kids and people bringing something new to the table, and I'm just excited to kind of keep on the edge of that. I always try to keep current with what's new. I don't know what's going to be new. I did mention some things I would love on my wish list, but
Oh yeah, what's on your wish list? I want to hear what's on your wish list.
Other than the wireless headphones is one.
Right. Okay.
Audio wise too, they're starting to make battery powered speakers, but they haven't really implemented the wireless tech in to the speakers yet. They've made it so you can put a wireless device on top of the speaker and hook it up to the speaker, but they aren't really integrating it yet. So I can't wait for the day I can just go set speakers up and they have power and they're connected to my device without.
Oh yeah, just by hanging them up, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, because I was just on my trip and the people were blown away, and the OCD wiring friends. Shout out to Bob Bonial, right? Came around and they just go, look at all those wires in the back. And I said, that's what's required these days. And when you do portable setups, I told people, like, I don't necessarily do wiring harnesses because I'm going to tear it up in 2 days. So it's got to work is really the key. But that's what's required these days. And so anytime you get rid of all the wireless, like one day, again, like this phone now, right? This phone has this, magnetic circular pad on it. And so there's a lot new wireless stuff that's happening with that you can attach stuff to it. It can interface, it can download. And so all of those kind of things, I mean, imagine that the whole building has some form of Wi-Fi power where if you're inside that room, it's actually receiving power from the building. And
yeah, you're charging your phone when you walk in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also scary, right?
Yeah, all those waves in the air. Yeah,
all these microwaves and radiation, and we're human, and we're supposedly.
Have you seen Darren Bruce and the DJ Sessions is starting to build 3-dimensional DJ spaces? I don't know if you peeked at that yet.
That's why I brought it up a little bit.
There you go.
I know he built a club in the metaverse or whatever, and I saw a couple pictures of it, but I haven't gone in there yet.
I haven't got
I
into
gotta get me an Oculus or something, don't I?
Yeah, you do need it. I have a Quest 2, so I
Or a
think I have the
Quest?
requisite hardware to get in. Now I just need a ticket because I got the bouncers. I got the virtual metaverse bouncers who won't let me in yet.
That's funny. Oh, good stuff.
Well, too funny. All right. Well, Adam, if you want people to remember one thing from this whole interview, what's the one thing you want people to remember?
I just check out the websites and the links that you shared. AdamsDJService.com if you do want to have a good dance party at an event. DJ Tgro is the club moniker. I love house music and bass music, and so when I get into the underground groove, that's me. Otherwise, the new link, Adam's AV Service, if you just need something small for an event, whether you're streaming or recording or not, and just want image magnification or a good record, some footage from the event, that's what we're all about.
Genius. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you again for all your contributions here in the
Thank you, John.
Washington State. And sorry for my dog fans. Go Cougs.
Yes, go Cougs.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Adam. All right. This is John Chen, and we've been hanging around TJ Tgro, otherwise known as Adam Tiegs. You know, hopefully you remember the two key messages here, which is engaging is still around vulnerability, authenticity, and storytelling, even at an in-person program from another DJ in Vegas. And the second part is be like a DJ, read your audience, respond to them, and see if you can make a magic moment happen. I'm John Chen. If you want to get interviewed, click the button up there, select interview, engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet. And if you are in any platforms, either click follow, connect, or engage, and subscribe and hit all the bells so that you can get notified the next time that we go live. And we look forward to seeing you, introducing you to this engaging virtual meetings community. All right, until next time, we'll see you.
Don't we start people and keep old people? Show you got heart.